Strap in, buckle up, and put your big boy pants on today, because we're going to be discussing who makes the better Call of Duty games. Infinity Ward versus Treyarch. And we're not just going to be looking at Cold War versus Modern Warfare 2019. I want to look at every single Call of Duty since COD 4. I'll discuss what I subjectively think each studio does better than the other, and you guys can feel free to comment down below what you guys agree or disagree with, and I'm also going to be comparing games head on. Now, it would be unfair if I compared Call of Duty 4 to a game like Black Ops 4. Because the limitations of technology are completely different. We had like 720p back then, and now we have like 2 and 4K gaming now. So graphics are going to be a huge change, as well as all the new mechanics that Black Ops 4 sees versus COD 4. So for continuity's sake, I'm going to be comparing every Call of Duty within their respective Call of Duty transition cycle. Now, if you guys don't know what a transition cycle, usually what it has always been is a 2-year cycle. You have Infinity Ward making a Call of Duty 1 year, then Treyarch the next. Sure, you have a little bit of Sledgehammer sprinkled throughout there with Advanced Warfare and World War II, but they haven't had any world-renowned Call of Duty games yet, so I'm going to keep them outside of the debate, and I think everyone knows that the 2 top studios for Call of Duty are Infinity Ward and Treyarch. I will also be picking what Call of Duty in that cycle is the best out of the 2 from the 2 studios. So, for example, we will have COD 4 Modern Warfare versus World at War, Modern Warfare 2 versus Black Ops 1, Modern Warfare 3 versus Black Ops 2, Ghosts versus Black Ops 3, Infinite Warfare versus Black Ops 4, and Modern Warfare 2019 versus Cold War. Now, you might be thinking, well, Ghosts and Black Ops 3 came out with Advanced Warfare in between them, but within that Call of Duty development cycle, it went Infinity Ward, Sledgehammer, and Treyarch, and just Advanced Warfare was in between Ghosts and Black Ops 3, so those 2 will be compared. Same thing with Infinite Warfare and Black Ops 4. Everything else has been released back to back minus those 4 games. And let's all keep in mind that this is going to be subjective mainly on my part. There will be a little bit of objective things thrown in the mix as well. So you are definitely going to have opinions that differ from me and opinions that differ from people in the comments. So keep a level head and understand that not everyone likes the same things you do. Treyarch fanboys and Infinity Ward fanboys, I'm looking at you. Let's look at some things that Treyarch just does better than Infinity Ward. Now, let's talk multiplayer maps right now. Both Infinity Ward and Treyarch make incredible multiplayer maps, but out of every single game that these 2 studios have created, it seems like Treyarch genuinely has the better map design. At least it tries to stick to that standard 3-lane map system, which plays super fun and gives you that Call of Duty feel. And Infinity Ward usually tries to switch up the formula. They have a lot of 3-lane maps, but I would say Infinity Ward has tested the waters and has tried non-traditional maps. Modern Warfare 2019 is a huge example of that, and a lot of those maps work, but then a lot of them don't. Look at Piccadilly and how well received that map is, and if you can't tell that's sarcasm, lots of people hated that map. And it's not just Piccadilly within Modern Warfare 2019, it's maps across every single Infinity Ward game. They try to push the envelope, test the waters, see what works and what doesn't, and when maps just don't work, they don't work. But I gotta commend Infinity Ward for trying. But overall, I think Treyarch has the better multiplayer maps. Now, that's not saying that Infinity Ward maps suck, because Infinity Ward has maps like Terminal, Modern Warfare 3's Dome. Every map in COD 4 that was a base game map is incredible. And then you have maps like High Rise, of course, and I could go on and on about good Infinity Ward maps. But overall, I think Treyarch has the general better map design. And one thing that Treyarch has over Infinity Ward is zombies. Not that Infinity Ward has never had zombies, because we had it in Infinite Warfare, but what Treyarch does with zombies is so much more elevated than Infinity Ward zombies that it's not even a competition. If you were to ask me, Treyarch versus Infinity Ward, who do you want to make zombies? I'm going to pick Treyarch every single day of the week, because Treyarch has a really good zombies record. Now, Infinity Ward has some pretty decent maps like Zombies in Spaceland and Brave in the Redwoods, but out of all the maps that came out in Infinite Warfare, those were the only good 2. Everything else just kind of flopped and just wasn't as entertaining as those first 2 maps. Treyarch is also really good at keeping the arcadey feel to Call of Duty. If you compare any Call of Duty that I've mentioned that I was going to compare later in the video, and you look at which ones are more serious and which ones are more arcadey, While the earlier Call of Duties like Modern Warfare 2 and Black Ops 1 were both arcadey, if you look at Call of Duty nowadays, Cold War is definitely the most arcadey out of the two within the recent years of Cold War and Modern Warfare 2019. And even Infinite Warfare and Black Ops 4 still had that arcadey feel. So if you're looking for a fun arcade shooter, the Treyarch Call of Duties are going to be what you enjoy most. While Infinity Ward is more of the realistic studio where they have some fun realism in their games versus Treyarch, which seems to be more colorful and, of course, arcadey. One thing I don't want to compare is campaigns, and that's because if you enjoy a campaign, it's mostly subjective. I would really love to compare campaigns between these two studios because I think there's tons of that both do incredibly well, but on the negative side, it's really just specific games that do things wrong because they're trying to test things out. So I'm going to leave campaigns out of the discussion, but usually the campaigns reflect in the multiplayers and influence the multiplayers heavily. So you'll see what I mean in a little bit here. One thing that I absolutely love in Infinity Ward is how much smoother their gameplay is. Ever since COD 4 versus World at War, ever since then, Infinity Ward has always had the smoother playing Call of Duties. And that really shows within COD Modern Warfare 2019 versus Cold War. Cold War is clunky and slow. Modern Warfare is agile and smooth. And that's not just with these two most modern games. If you go back to look at any older Call of Duty, the Modern Warfares have always had smoother gameplay over the Black Ops series, which did make or break some games for players back then, because you would go from a smooth game like Modern Warfare 2, which for the time was smooth. I know it doesn't hold up today, but back then it was. And then you go to a game like Black Ops 1 that feels a lot more clunky, and you might be like, well, I want to just play Modern Warfare because it's so much smoother. Black Ops 2 was the closest I think Treyarch has ever been to the smoothness of a Call of Duty from Infinity Ward, and that was comparing it to Modern Warfare 3, just because Black Ops 2 improved upon the Black Ops 1 movement, but was still clunky overall. And even if you compare to games like Ghosts and Black Ops 3, where Black Ops 3 is much more advanced than Ghosts because they were Call of Duties from different era. One was from the PS3 Xbox 360 era, one was from the PS4 Xbox One era, and even then, Black Ops 3 does feel pretty clunky. Now, Ghost isn't the smoothest Call of Duty ever, so Ghosts and Black Ops 3 are going to be the only two games that feel almost equal in terms of smoothness and clunkiness and movement, just because of the hardware limitations. But Infinity Ward's Infinite Warfare versus Treyarch's Black Ops 4, once again, Infinity Ward's Infinite Warfare way more smoother than Black Ops 4. In my experience, I've also noticed that Infinity Ward has the better weapon and better weapon arsenal, and they're not super aggressive with microtransactions. A huge area that I'm going to compare here is Black Ops 4 and Black Ops 3 to every other Call of Duty that we've seen from Infinity Ward. Black Ops 3 had a ridiculous amount of melee weapons, and these melee weapons didn't have any different stats from one another. It was just, it changed the skin of the melee weapon you were using. So instead of the combat knife, you could use boxing gloves. Instead of boxing gloves, you could use something like a wrench or a hammer, sledgehammer, anything. You just, the amount of DLC weapons that Black Ops 3 and Black Ops 4 added was a little ridiculous. Now, it was cool because we did get some interesting weapons, but at the end of the day, they weren't really that good. I mean, there wasn't really any game-breaking weapons, and they just relied on remaking a lot of old school weapons like the M16, PPSH, AK-74U. A lot of those weapons were brought into DLC weapons. Not that Infinity Ward hasn't done that as well, because with MWR, we also saw that being brought into the game, where we saw lots of DLC weapons there. But overall, I just think base game without DLC being added to the mix, Infinity Ward just has the better base weapons, and Treyarch seems to rely on DLC weapons to make their games more interesting, while Infinity Ward just has their really good base weapons, and then we'll build off of that arsenal that is already strong and established, while Treyarch has a little bit of a weaker base launch of weapons and then tends to add in some of those better weapons later within DLC. Now I'm going to compare the games that I mentioned at the beginning of the video, and just for context, Modern Warfare Remastered is going to be bundled with Infinite Warfare, just because I feel like it's unfair if you don't include Modern Warfare Remastered within that section of comparison. And remember, this is going to be my subjective opinion. It's going to be what I enjoyed more from each studio. and I might not agree with everyone out there, so don't get mad. You just gotta deal with it and suck it up. Starting off with COD 4 and World at War, COD 4 is my favorite between the two. Between Modern Warfare 2 and Black Ops 1, I would prefer Modern Warfare 2. Between Modern Warfare 3 and Black Ops 2, I prefer Modern Warfare 3. Between Call of Duty Ghosts and Black Ops 3, I heavily prefer Black Ops 3 just because of zombies. The multiplayers are pretty even for me. They're both on the lower range of mediocre for me, but zombies is what makes me prefer Black Ops 3. Between Modern Warfare Remastered and Infinite Warfare versus Black Ops 4, I much prefer the Infinity Ward games here. Now, if I'm being honest, if I'm ranking all three of these games together, it goes Modern Warfare Remastered, then Black Ops 4, then Infinite Warfare. So if you're just comparing Infinite Warfare versus Black Ops 4, I'm picking Black Ops 4 just because of zombies. Both multiplayers, I strongly dislike. Black Ops 4 is just slightly better than Infinite Warfare, but if we have MWR in the mix, I'm definitely picking the Infinity Ward versus Treyarch here. And then for the current Call of Duties of Modern Warfare 2019 and Cold War, I am actually going to pick Cold War over Modern Warfare. Now, I'm not including Warzone because both games now just have as much influence as Warzone as the other. The only difference is Warzone runs off the Modern Warfare engine, but that's just the engine, not the games themselves. And Activision has made a very strong point that both games are separate from Warzone, so I'm just going based off of what they say and not including Warzone within these two comparisons. And with a final score of 4-2, for my personal preference, I enjoy the Infinity Ward Call of Duties over the Treyarch Call of Duties on average. Not to say that all Treyarch Call of Duties are bad, but if you're asking me based off of all of these factors, I would prefer the Infinity Ward over Treyarch. The only odd cases out is Cold War and Black Ops 3 over their counterparts. But that doesn't mean that Treyarch makes bad games. Personally for me, I would prefer Infinity Ward over Treyarch, and I know lots of people, including the Treyarch fanboys, would differ. So let me know in the comment sections what you guys agree or disagree with and where you stand between the two studios in competition with each other. I genuinely miss the days where the studios did have heavy competition with each other. It seems like ever since Black Ops 3's introduction, there hasn't been that much competitions between studios because Sledgehammer has been a third studio that has been brought into the cycle. But back in the day, COD 4, World at War, Modern Warfare 2, Black Ops 1, Modern Warfare 3, Black Ops 2, it was like head to head, who makes better games. And that improved the quality of games we got because Infinity Ward and Treyarch were always consistently trying to be better than each other. And I honestly wish Sledgehammer was not in the picture anymore because they weren't in the picture for this past cycle and then all of a sudden are being brought back in. And I honestly wish they were just staying as a support studio so the competition between these two companies would slightly increase once again and we get better games overall. Anyway, that's going to be the video today. Leave a like if you guys did enjoy, dislike if you didn't. Remember, don't get offended because my opinions or someone else's opinions differ from your. It just shows who you are as a character. Anyway, subscribe for more videos in the future, and if there is one, I'll see ya in the next one. Peace.